Should these migrants be treated legally? What are our responsibilities, to the governor's point, once they arrive here? Let's get to read from Michael Wilds. He's an immigration attorney, author of Safe Haven in America. Michael, maybe you can help me with what our obligations are when someone files or claims asylum. There's a process to go through. Could you, help me through that?
It's been a while. Thank you for having me, Neil. First, before we even talk about the asylum process, let's remind ourselves these souls are not in America. They're on their way to America in Mexico under asylum law. If they've resettled in a third country, they're not allowed to get asylum in the United States. So understand this. If Mexico gives them safe haven, they are then prohibited from getting asylum in the United States. It's time for us to have a real conversation on political asylum law. We cannot be insensitive like the governor who just spoke just now, as Lady Liberty and Mercy should be a weapon that we hold dearly to those that are on our shores. I'm not talking about criminals and MS-13, but if an individual is now out of jeopardy from Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, and they're in Mexico, why isn't Mexico giving them asylum? And then if their trip to the United States is an economic trip and not a political asylee trip, it really begs the question that we need to have a new conversation post-World War II on what asylum law is, because not every humanitarian crisis is a state persecution. Asylum law is relegated to 5 hallmark categories of persecution. And if individuals want a better life, we have to fix our broken system. There I agree with the governor. But this is not America's problem right now. And mind you,
but it will be, right? I mean, isn't that the idea that it will be, Michael? What I want to know is if they can't have asylum in the United States because traveling through, in this case, a third-party country like Mexico, can they wait on that asylum status or whatever the legal definition will be in Mexico rather than the United States? You've heard the fear expressed among many that a court date is given to see a judge. They never show up. They're in the United States. What do you think?
So if you're applying for asylum, it can only be done at our border or in America. If you're applying from abroad in Mexico, you have to go through the UN, and there the UN can place you in other countries. So if this is a mad dash through Mexico, punishing the 3 countries by taking their biblical straw away isn't going to do anything to dissuade these individuals from coming.
But what do we do? What do we do when they come here and they're at the border? Are you saying then we have no obligation in that sense to deal with them?
So when they show up at the border, right, legally they're entitled to a credible fear interview. For those that would sneak into the United States and make it past 200 miles, they then, on their own leisure, can apply for asylum within a year. And there is a process that will speed up, but then you're stuck in a court system that's backed up 2-3 years in some judges' calendars. Only 370 immigration judges with 12 million people here, Neil. The efficiencies is crazy. If you are asking for asylum at our border, you're entitled to a credible fear interview. Within 6 or 8 weeks, you'll be before an immigration judge. And then also, that judge's calendar is going to be backed up, and you're going to
But how do you prove your asylum case? I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but how do you prove that you face an imminent threat to your life, your family's life?
You have to establish that you are in fear of persecution because of your race, your politics.
And how do they check here in the United States or elsewhere that is a legitimate claim?
That's where lawyers, and that's where the process of the politics and getting, not only, you can't get a letter from your dictator, but you can effectively show that the governments in those countries are ill-conceived and are allowing persecution. Now, the real question is if the drug cartels and the gangs are being allowed by the government to do this or not. Look, bottom line, Neil, is the president trying to punish these 3 countries by taking away their money is not in any way going to stop people from coming here. It's time to have a new conversation on political asylum.
Michael Wilds, thank you very, very much.
Pleasure.
All right.